Welcome back to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk and You're Gonna Listen. And it's your host, Chance Pellin. It's got a quick show for you. This is my second attempt at recording this. The first time I was really long-winded, so we're gonna try to shorten my thoughts up a bit. So, first of all, house cleaning. I'm still working on a book, Fanny 2. Which is like the comedic spin-off. I'm still working on the art book. The last piece is getting done now, but I still need to do a book cover. And I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. And I'm trying to point people over to my Fiverr if they want a beta tester reader. That would help me out a lot. If you're an author and you want me to read your book for an hour, hit up my Fiverr. And check out my books. Oh, and I dropped a new song that's a teaser for the new album. Somebody said I should drop a teaser for the new album to build the hype. So I did. I still think it's a few more weeks out because I need to fix one song. And I still feel like it needs another song or two. So it's going to be a couple more weeks, but hopefully the teaser song, plus the regulars have heard a couple of them, beta testing songs interspersed throughout. These bunker codes in some of my other videos, I squeeze them in there for little Easter eggs to gauge people's responses. So if you've been responding to the songs, thanks. Okay, so with that, producer Chance. Insert intro song. Yeehaw.
Found a bunker deep in the woods. Supply stacked high, it feels so good. Hiding out neath the leafy hood. Gonna help others try to get through.
Alright, this episode is brought to you by... Just kidding, I still don't have any sponsors. I have been really heavily stress testing a Ryobi 18-volt brushless whisper weed whacker, though. So, if that sounds groovy to anyone, leave a comment down below. And thanks again to my loyal, dedicated listeners. I appreciate y'all. So I think this is going to be like a one and done topic because I've been having a crazy headache over the course of several days, and I hope I can even get this episode done because the cats have just been a pain in the ass. And all right, so the barbarian hordes, let's pretend hypothetical situation that there's, or for some reason, teleported from thousands of years ago, barbarians from beyond finally start. They just appear from nowhere. They just show up at the border. And they just come on over. And for some reason, the barbarians just slip by undetected, or maybe even detected. Let's just pretend. Or maybe you're on an island and the barbarians came on their barbarian ships, and but it's modern day, so this is like a more concise version of what I was trying to say in my last episode that I ended up axing. So we're in modern day, and there's the modern, but they're barbarians from thousands of years ago. And you might think to yourself, oh, I would just do XYZ. And you'd be wrong, because you'd be labeled a racist now. Because those barbarians are just undocumented barbarians that are just trying to seek sanctuary from leaving their barbarian lands, where things were even worse in the country of Barbaristan. So take your pick wherever your barbarians or Vikings or whatever are from. Oh my gosh, these cats. So you might think you're just gonna do XYZ to stop the barbarians. Or you think you and your friends or your neighbors or your mates, depending on where you are in the world, that you're just gonna stop the barbarians. Well, we're gonna go over that scenario as succinctly as I can before cat chaos erupts in my house. So the first thing that's going to happen is I alluded to, I'm doing this without notes, by the way. I should have made notes because I think this is a very formulaic situation. It happens the same every time. A couple of them seek asylum. The barbarians in this hypothetical situation seek asylum. Maybe they even send some women and children first. Oh, the land of Barbarianistan and Vikingvania or whatever. It's so bad. Wah wah wee wah. And everyone feels sorry for them. And usually what they do is they find like an anchor point in your country, right? We'll call it New Yorkistan if you're in America, or wherever in the rest of the world. Some kind of sanctuary city. I don't even know how these sanctuary cities started anymore. But hey, it doesn't matter now. It's too late. So they give them phones and credit cards, and they can even be, South American barbarians. Who knows? They're barbarians from somewhere. And sometimes they might dress nice, and you never know. So maybe some of them are okay, but it's impossible to tell. And some of them integrate, but most of them, they just want to make their own little barbarian enclaves, hypothetically. And it's like a slow boil, right? There's more and more. They create their anchor point, like a beachhead. They create like a beachhead, There's more and more and more. And you might think, well, they can't just build their own properties. You're right. So they park around if they can find a car or whatever. And there's more and more and more of them. And you might think, oh, something surely is going to happen, right? Someone's going to do something. But then you notice, it's time for a new election, and you notice for some reason the person that's elected is all of a sudden extremely sympathetic to these people for some reason. But nobody knows how they got elected. Just everybody knows that they didn't vote for them. Right. So all of a sudden all their buddies, all these hotels, because of some, hypothetical bioweapon that happened a couple years ago that emptied out all the hotels and unfinished hotels and all the commercial real estate that's collapsing, all of a sudden, oh look, we can get all these fat government payouts to fill up these hotels. All of a sudden, all this commercial real estate, we're saved. Everybody's left the cities. They've abandoned the cities, but we can backfill them with these barbarians and Vikings and I don't know. I can't think of the other words because I'm trying to be careful because this is hypothetical. And so people come from all over, right? But you've also still got the gangs to deal with. You've still got the homeless to deal with. You still have the cartels to deal with. And there are these ever-increasing layers of sophisticated organized crime of every single flavor and variety, which in a civilized world, in third-gen warfare, police tactics and strategy, you can deal with most of the time. You can at least keep it down But these barbarians, they keep misbehaving. These pesky barbarians, and they keep telegraphing exactly what they want to do. They're not like the gangs that'll kind of chill out. They're bad, but they'll kind of chill out. The homeless, which are just going to lose their mind at, phone polls once in a while. They're, the street racers, that do the lockdowns that only come out on nights and weekends, all of this other civil unrest in the grand scheme of things is, and all the, tyranny and corruption, hypothetically, that's all very tolerable in a weird sense. Human beings are like super adaptable. So like even through like rampant inflation and soaring food prices, vehicle prices, house prices, rent, all the things that are going on in schools and indoctrinating the next generation, hypothetically, this is a what if scenario. More bioweapons on the horizon, another world war on the horizon, probably any day now in Minecraft. So, but these barbarians, they keep telegraphing exactly what they're going to do. And they keep doing exactly what they say they're going to do. And more people get wiser, and more people get wiser, and they just keep calling them racist. And just trying to shut everybody up. But unfortunately, they call everybody racist for so long that, like, the word stops having any meaning. Just like xenophobe and homophobe and all the other obes and ists and stuff, and it just stops losing any meaning. And you're like, there's a barbarian horde right there. And you can't deny it because there's more and more video, and then there's videos of them in their home countries being barbarians and doing the worst unspeakable horrors, and full well saying that they're going to do them even more and that they're going to come over here and do them. Then the people from the military come back and they're like, yep, they definitely do all that stuff. Every time they come back, hundreds and hundreds of stories. And yet we're still held to this standard of ourselves not being some kind of crusading faction of people who address barbarians. Hypothetically, not real crusaders, obviously, and who would push back against some kind of invasion, but because nothing like that exists anymore, because that would be extreme, and you don't want to be extreme anymore, because even looking at someone wrong or even accidentally saying the wrong thing could be listed as extreme now, and even typing something on the internet that's extreme in some countries gets you a boot knock and thrown in the gulag. And the news can't show it because it's inciting violence against these barbarians. So you might think, why doesn't anyone do anything about this? Meanwhile, you try to peacefully protest and say, look, there's barbarians over there, and they're doing barbarian things. They're being barbarians again, and Vikings, whatever. Choose your diddly do. They're coming over, and they're coming over again, and now they're here, and now they won't leave, and now they're in charge. I mean, this has happened so many times throughout history. And so, but now things are different a little bit. So what do? You try to peacefully protest, and they have some barbarian sympathizers on their side to make the protest look bad. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, the leadership takes the barbarian side. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, the cops, even though the cops look exactly like the people who are protesting and grew up with those people and live in literally the same place and are supposed to be protecting and serving, for some reason are all given orders to protect the barbarians instead. For some reason. And pretend this happens all over the world at the same time. It happens in India, hypothetically. It happens in the UK, hypothetically. It starts happening in the US. I don't know. The barbarians just be like that sometimes. They're just doing what barbarians do. We have to be tolerant of the barbarianism and sacrifice our wives and our daughters and our sons to appease the barbarians because you don't want to be labeled an extremist. That would be bad. And all of a sudden, you're getting, there's the protests and the riots, they get out of hand a little bit. After, some provocateurs they go do their own thing and they stir the pot. This has been happening for 25 years now in protests. Everybody should be getting used to this now. All of a sudden, some splinter group will run off that nobody knows, and all of a sudden, get out of our food. Yeah, see, all of a sudden, the cat's eating out of the wrong food dish, so to speak. And everyone goes, hey, we don't know who those people are. Happens every time. And then the media jumps on that because for some reason the media is taking the side of the barbarians too. And then guess what happens the next day? Some people get attacked, some people get hurt, some people get killed. Maybe there's some gangs walking around at night looking to mop things up. Some groups of people, maybe some other groups looking for revenge. But then the next morning, everybody posts their selfies of the horizon, and they all go, everything's fine. None of that happened. Everything's fine. Why did everybody say that things got out of control? Sure, there were some isolated incidents, and they started just like gaslight, strawmanning the shit out of anybody who dares to prove otherwise. And the next night it gets a little bit worse. And maybe even some of the media who have been defending the barbarians, maybe they get attacked on live television and barely escape the horrors that the barbarians do when they catch people out and about. Because the news will cut the feed really quick and then delete the posts and act like their anchor woman didn't just get attacked by like 20 barbarians. Or, the guy at the pub that got attacked by 20 barbarians, he must have just deserved it somehow. He must have said a racist or something. He must have said a no. And meanwhile, what everybody does, why aren't people doing anything about this? Everybody's sitting at home, scared to even admit that it's going on. Because they've just been indoctrinated at this point to just pretend like it's this 0.01% of both sides. And it doesn't matter what city or what town or what group or multiple groups, because I have seen this exact framework used over and over and over in almost every country in the world to whatever groups are in that area. And the problem is, no matter what the people that lived there, grew up there, melded into that area with that culture, no matter what those people do, it's going to be seen as extreme, no matter what. The problem is, people that invade your country just because they don't have stuff and you have stuff. At no point in all of history has that ever been acceptable. Ever. You can't point to a single time in history where everyone was like, okay, cool, we're letting the barbarian hordes in. There's like some cautionary tales of, once you pay the ransoms, then the Vikings will keep coming back forever. But, and like Trojan horses and stuff. So like, all of a sudden, they're in all your hotels. And then you can't do anything about it because they'll just go, oh, you're trying to do XYZ to the hotel and it's full of people. Well, guess what? Those people do it too. And the news media doesn't cover it. creates this horrible, one-sided, like a one-sided war where only one side ever gets to move their pieces. You're only ever reacting, you're never acting. Everyone always has to ask permission and get a consensus before they think it's okay to act, and by then it's too late because you're just having circles ran around you. And again, I'm not calling out any specific nation or culture or ethnicity because, sorry, the cats are really getting into it. It could be street racers, right? The Northwest Invitational of street racers was last weekend. And hundreds, if not thousands, of street racers came to the city to do their illegal street races and burnouts and street lockdowns and stuff. Okay, it could be Chaz's, it could be autonomous zones ran by hippies or gang warlords. You should not be labeled a racist for going. Those people are all military age. They have weapons, and they're setting up shop in the middle of our city. That's not how, unless they're actively under it, there's just no, that's just called making a fort and invading somebody's area and just making a fort in it for you to be able to launch your operations from. It would be different if they go, hey, we're making a little base and we're going to trade with everybody. And that's what most cultures come to a civilized area and do. They come there and they set up a little fort and then they start trading, or a little shop or whatever. Almost every single culture on the planet does that. Right? But and I can't maybe 100% think of the right word, but this idea of these like marauding gangs and these marauding groups and barbarians that, in New York, they literally set up shops right outside the shops that they steal from. They take the things inside, they bring them outside, and then they resell them. fentanyl, which is like, basically a chemical weapon. They ship the drugs over here, and then they pillize them, and then they just turn the entire place into like a chemical wasteland. That's not assimilating. That's just being a parasite / invader / I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words. Just parasites. And then they just grow into like a tumor, and then they just get cancerous and toxic until they've overwhelmed the host and taken over. And it sucks to even have to have this conversation, but leaders all over the world are allowing this to happen, and it is leading us into what will be a massive destabilization. And look, it's happening with them letting out the jails too. They're letting out everyone from the jails in the US. They have been since the Rona. Other countries have been letting everyone out of their jails, and they've all been coming here too. It's turning the modern civilized world into like Middle Ages. I don't even know what the words are anymore. But the problem with all this is back to my main point of why doesn't somebody do something, is because we've all been gaslit into, with straw man bullshit, to just be too scared to go, hey, this is going on, this isn't right. We've got these people over here, they came over here and they set up a shop and they want to be friends with everybody. There's these people over here and they're being barbarians. I don't want to say it all. It's just too horrible. The news that I've been reading for the last 8 to 12 years, it just gets worse. The things these people do are unspeakable. And it's happening more and more and more and more and more. And the modern world has been sold out. And you might ask why. I may have some of the answers. I don't know if I do. I mean, I write about this stuff a lot in my books, but the reality is that you can't rationalize why the upper echelons of the leadership of the cabal, with all their crazy think tanks and strategic philanthropists, like some think tank somewhere could have just decided that this would be like a fun thing to happen to destabilize the planet. Like, because they want to just reduce the population or whatever, or reset everything, and unleashing the barbarian hordes and massive civil unrest is going to destabilize the planet and reset it all. And who knows? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The point is, there's a lot of people who want to just ignore the news and hope it goes away, and hope it's two teeny tiny fringe parties. But there's a reason why it seems like it's always two tiny fringe parties doing battles in the streets. And it's because only a teeny tiny amount of people seem to wake up. And scarily enough, it's less every time. But when evil rises, good rises to face it every single time. Things are just a little more weird now with social media because there's such a slant and control on it. But just like in the city, the street racers came And the police massively stepped up their game, and they chased all the street racers out. Like, they did a good job. And yeah, you could say, well, it's an election year, blah blah blah, but that's kind of a cop out. The cops really stepped up, and they ran the street racers out. There was 2 straight days of civil unrest, but at least the cops went out and did their job, and they staffed up, and they were ready for it. There's gonna be good people, and there's gonna be good groups, and sometimes those groups are gonna fail, and they're gonna have challenges, and they're gonna have people in them that are making them topsy-turvy with drama and stuff. But I mean, this is what it's all been about. And if you're burying your head in the sand now, you're just letting other people fight your battles for you, and you're not paying attention to the strategies so you can train and be ready, so you can be adaptable for whatever it is that's coming. Because the next stage, I mean, there's some places they're marching around with death squads right now looking for people. In Minecraft death squads. Unfortunately, the next thing is they're going house to house. This has happened before. It happened in 2020. It happened in 2016. They get to that point to where they get house to house, and by then it's too late. One of the very first cards, if you bought the very first deck of Conflicted, said, what are you going to do if they start going house to house? And it's kind of a trick question, because by then it's already way too late. And so many people thinking, oh, if they come to my door, they're coming to your door with 60 people, with 200 people, and they're just going to burn your house down. And then they're going to do horrible barbarian things. I know this isn't fun to talk about, and, you know, working on gardens and storing up food and stuff is good, but you have to. It's stupid when everyone says just situational awareness, but like, you have to know what's going on, and then you have to have the capacity and the bandwidth to react. But you have to be able to react with comparable force. You have to have enough force and then be able to multiply it to be able to overcome barbarians. And someone was making like, oh, I bet XYZ had castle doctrine. And I thought to myself, I actually bet they had actual castles right now. That was, you know, one of the, you know, a very solid force multiplier, having castles and forts and keeps and stuff. But we don't have those anymore. We have super weak, flimsy houses that, it's most of us. So, you know, having defensive positions and in radios and getting right with your neighbors. You know, even if they don't look like you, chances are, if they've been here for a while, they've got businesses, and it's in everyone's best interests. And chances are, knock it off, please. Oh, the cat's cheeser. The cats get really, really distracting at night when I'm trying to do these. Your neighbors, if they've been here for a while, they have just as much to lose as you. They've been putting away money for things they like, you know. They're trying to start businesses. Or maybe their businesses have already been attacked by the very same people. You know, if you just talk to your neighbors, you'll realize that you all have stuff in common. And these people didn't work to be here. They're not really fleeing anything. And especially the countries that are hopelessly in debt. Leave our food alone. Monsters. You know, you're hopelessly in debt. You realize that you're being set up. You realize that they've unleashed the barbarians on you on purpose, and that they've unleashed the prisons on you on purpose. And then if you do anything or say anything, then they threaten to throw you in the prison. or they dox you and set the barbarians on you. You realize that you're hated. You're hated, and all you've ever been trying to do is do everything that they told you. You've been trying to do everything that they tell you, and they still hate you. But they tell you that you're the one that hates everybody else. And it really hurts. But you can't bury your head in the sand. Everything still has to be cool and calm and collected and measured and focus on being left alone. I'm not saying do anything crazy. But you gotta talk to your neighbors. And you gotta get radios. And you don't watch the news. The news is super jacked up. Don't track with anything that's trying to like emotionally trigger you. And so listen for those cool, calm, collected voices that are breaking everything down in ways that actually make sense, and so you can figure out something objective that's actionable, that makes sense in your situation. That might mean a little bit more gardening, you know? It might mean learning how to do radios, you know? Who knows? Maybe it might mean learning to fly drones. There's all kinds of things like that. Like, oh, what's going on down the street? Well, I can just fly a drone over there real fast and get XYZ on the radio. I mean, just don't let you and your families be victims because you're worried about getting called names. That's all just like gaslighting bullshit. They're just trying to scare everybody. And what happens is, and the point of the podcast I deleted, because I was having a hard time really getting it concise, is that when they act like everything's fine, when everything's clearly not fine, people go out and they get hurt. And worse. And I distilled it down to one thing. One side is still trying to work. And they're still trying to do their jobs. And they're still trying to do what everybody tells them to do. And they're still trying to be good. And they're still trying to behave. And they're still trying to obey traffic laws and obey all the other laws that just put them into a box. Whereas the other side gets everything for free. They do not have to work. They have nothing but time. And as soon as you put it into perspective, you realize you are in deep, deep shit in Minecraft. Because this whole thing has been a setup. And depending where you're at, you could be in a lot of trouble, but that's why you gotta have bug out plans and comms plans to get everybody out somewhere safer. Yeah, in that case, you become a refugee yourself, but you are going to have to learn to vibe with wherever it is you end up and not take it over and be a warlord. Because a lot of people are going to get displaced from the barbarians, and so everybody else has to be really tolerant when there's refugees again. And here you kind of see the paradox of the whole thing. So I guess I'm just going to leave it there because I think I left enough for everybody to think about. The most important thing, I'll say this a million times, focus on being left alone. Don't do anything crazy. Don't listen to anyone saying anything crazy or that's suggesting to do anything crazy. Just focus on being left alone and getting yourself and your family out safe. Trip check everywhere. And just help your community be aware. But, carefully do it so you don't, out yourself. You got to do it slow and careful and figure out who you can trust and figure out what you can say. But just help raise awareness, where you're at. It might not be time to, jingle jangle the alarm full tilt yet, but there's other places where they're having active street battles. India is having a really bad time right now. Venezuela is having a really bad time right now. The UK is having a really bad time right now. If you're not in those areas, maybe you're a little bit better off. But this seems to be going global very, very, very fast. And it could just be civil unrest from street racers or from some locals or the gangs or the cartels or you name it. The Vikings. Whatever. Just even if the only thing you take away from this is to just be a teeny tiny bit more aware of what's happening in your community, take measured, level-headed approaches at just try to be a little bit more aware and just try to gather a little bit more information. And at least figure out where you stand. These are elections for a lot of people right now. The elections are going to change a lot. And I've said this before. If you elect really, really good people and they actually make it in, be prepared to back them up. If you want them to back you up, you better be prepared to back them up. And I hope there's a peaceful way through this, and I hope everyone just leaves everyone alone. But that all starts with being more aware of what's going on. So I'm going to shut this off. And I appreciate y'all. I know this was a little scatterbrained because the cats are being silly. But I will talk to you all again in the next one. Don't forget to do your buddy checks. Bye-bye.
About anything. Overlook an abandoned bunker. Let's go. Found a bunker deep in the woods. Supplies stacked high, it feels so good. Hiding out neath the leafy hood. Gonna help others try to get through. Got a radio in my hand. Try to reach out across the land. Get the antenna up as high as I can. Being left alone, my only plan. Speak out loud across the world, sending signals through the air. Gonna help and gonna care. Try to help get everyone squared. People scattered near and far. left alone, my only plan. Speak out loud to the world, sending signals through the air. Help, and gonna care, even though that seems unfair. People scattered near and far, light shining out like a distant star. Through the static, through the dark, common friends to help restart. If we band together, we should pull through. From my bunker, I can help you. Sending help, tell you all that I know. So grab a drink and enjoy the show.